It's all good.
Good evening, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show Post, live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg, and I'm joined this evening by my partners in crime. How you doing this evening, J3?
I'm doing well. Sorry for the delay, y'all. My mistake.
We got the professor in the building. What's going on, Professor?
What's up? What's going on, everybody? We about to get it in. No worries, J3. And as I always say, praise the Lord. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Ed is in the building. What's going on, Ed? How you feeling this evening, partner?
I'm good, fellas. What's all this red up on the screen for?
I just got, one thing to say about all this red. Roll.
Hey, good to see you guys. Let's go.
And we'll be joined shortly by a special guest host,
Clutch.
We got Clutch in the building. What's going on, Clutch? How you feeling, brother?
What's going on, Big Reg? What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing this evening?
All right, Clutch.
Right on time.
So we're going to get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about the college football championship game. And again, roll tide. We're going to hit the NFL wild card playoff weekend and the divisional round preview, our post takes, a couple other topics to caught our eye, and of course, our final post of the evening. So we appreciate you tuning in. Sit back, relax, enjoy post on the Positional Sports Talk Show channel. Woo! Last night, boy. I gotta tell y'all, my daughter, who's an Alabama grad, that's why you see me rocking the gear. I sent my money and my daughter to the university, so I'm a proud supporter. And she asked me, "How are you feeling about the game?" It was about 7 o'clock, and I said, "For the first time, I don't know." I said, if our offensive line can hold up to their defensive line, because all week they've been talking about how great a job Ohio State did against Clemson, that defensive line. I said, if the offensive line can hold up, we're going to be all right. If they can't, it's going to be a shootout. But I had no idea it was going to get like it got yesterday. Devontae Smith. Whew. Fellas, that man put up 215 and 3 TDs in the first half against them boys.
First half.
No answer for them. They had no answer.
Actually, they did. Hurt them. That's the only way you going to slow them down. That was it.
So my take on rewinding for a quick second. My take on the game prior to the start of the game was if they interviewed both of the head coaches, they interviewed Day for Ohio State, and then they interviewed Coach Saban for Alabama. And I remember right before Saban went and caught up with his team, the interviewer asked Saban, and I'm paraphrasing, well, what do you think? And I don't think I've ever seen Nick Saban smile before a game. He smiled and said, "I guess we'll find out in a few minutes." So what I'm thinking is, I think that like he, through all the film study and what have you, I think he knew what was about to get unleashed on Ohio State. I honestly believe that, and I don't think Nick Saban isn't built like that. He doesn't like openly, at least, brag or like predict, so to speak, what's going to happen. But I've never seen. Have any of you ever seen Nick Saban smile prior to a game? Let's know. Heck, after a game, let alone after a game.
Only the championship.
Right.
Yeah. He certainly got that Bill Belichick thing going on with him, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I got a quick question for you, Ed. Because of the outcome, do you think it would be totally different if Justin Fields was 100%?
Well, look, you guys have been knowing me, and we've been talking about sports for a while now. And my thing is, injuries are a part of the game, and how you manage those injuries is also part of the game. So yeah, you can say that. Well, Fields was not 100%. Well, who was anybody on Alabama's team after 12 SEC games? Basically, was anyone on that team really 100%? I mean, Ohio State only played what 7 up to that point.
7, yeah.
So, would have Fields would have made a difference? Heck, they even had a couple of defensive linemen not there. But again, you could say, well, Alabama didn't have their first or second best player available. So you always say injuries are part of the game, and so I don't think it would have made much of a difference. It would have been okay. So, because if you think about it, listen. Alabama ended up with the halftime score was 35-17. Effectively, the game was over. I mean, for 24. I'm sorry. Was it 17? I'm sorry. 35-17 at halftime. So effectively, the game was over. Devontae Smith, like Big Rez just said, didn't even play in the second half. I mean, he had he played like 2 snaps, I think, of the second half. He didn't have any catches. All his stats is basically the first half. So had he been not hurt, they would have got to 70. So I don't think Fields being 100% healthy would have made one bit of difference. And don't forget, they also lost their running back on the second snap of the game.
It was just a question because, truth be told, I don't think it would have made a difference anyway. Because again, Justin Fields plays on offense. Your defense didn't show up, plain and simple. So Justin Fields, how you want to try to justify it.
Right. And to me, Justin Fields still made some really good plays last night, despite having that hip or rib injury. They shot him up. They did. I don't even want to argue. Absolutely. So, he was out there. I told y'all last night, he was going to put that team on his back and at least make a valiant effort to come through. And that boy last night, what's his name? Teague. I wasn't playing. He looked like Maurice Claret, a couple of them runs. He was just running, just busting there. Right.
He was starting running back all year until the very end when he got hurt. And then that's when Trey Sermon got in, because Trey Sermon was just coming back from an ACL. So he didn't start playing. So if Fields was 100%, it may have gotten better. But just like Alabama did to Notre Dame in the second half, they throttled it down.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you brought up the injury bug. What if Waddle was able to really go in it? Really go in that game. Just think about how that would have looked on both sides of the field with both of them two race horses out there. So,
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
So when I was looking at, I'm sorry, go ahead, Big Reg.
I was just going to say, I think you hit the nail right on the coffin last week. Whose big three would make the difference? And it was obvious. It was dominant. Mac Brown, Najee Harris, and Devontae put on a show.
Mac Brown, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, pardon. They put on a show.
That dude Robinson was nice too. After Najee did his damage, and they was like, "Okay, Robinson, you can go ahead and eat." He was looking sweet out there.
If you want to be a running back for Bama, it's 4 stars minimum. Most of them are 5 stars. And let's just put this in perspective. Who's the running back for your New Orleans Saints?
Kamara
Kamara got ran out of Alabama.
Wow.
That's why he ended up in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
There's your fun fact for the day.
Yeah. Right.
But I do want to dispute. I do want to bring up one interesting point about the narrative is that Alabama gets all the good 4 and 5 star players. You know, and if you look at the recruiting rankings since Saban has been there, I think he's been there since 08 or 09. Since he got to Alabama, they've regularly, consistently been either no lower than 5, most likely 1 or 2 as far as the rankings are concerned. They have more than double the amount of 5 stars of any program in that amount of time that since Saban's been in Tuscaloosa. But what can't be discounted was on full display last night, and that's coaching, because Ohio State has 4 and 5 stars too.
Yeah.
Clemson has 4 and 5 stars, although they didn't make it. But anyway, what I'm saying is that if you watch that game, and if you was really a football aficionado, and the narrative on Alabama is, well, we'll keep the ball away from them so they can't score. Well, what did Steve Sarkisian do? Steve Sarkisian said, you know what? That's cool. We're going to sustain long drives. We're going to bleed you to death because we're going to score every time we get the ball. But we're not going to score 1 or 2. We're not going to score on 1 or 2 passes. We're going to work our way down the field. We're going to eat clock, and then we're going to score. And then you're going to try to score on us, maybe. But if you have one slip up, that's the ball game. And that's what happened. Ohio State kicked that field goal. That was a wrap.
Yep.
That was a wrap.
Yeah.
And they gifted him 7 of those points because Matt had a turnover. Yeah.
Y'all know what he was doing. He was tucking the ball, but I don't know what he was doing.
He was shocked somebody was that close to him so quick. Like, hey,
I don't know what he was doing.
Like that back here. Yeah, Steve Sarkisian, and that was a lot of Alabama fans' big concern. He's already accepted the head coaching job at Texas. Texas is the #1 generating revenue college football program in the country, period. So that's a huge job. So you're concerned about, everybody's concerned with his loyalties, but you can see he was dialed in from get-go.
He coached that game like he was like, y'all stop playing. I need to go to Texas tomorrow. Let's just get this wrap it up. I'm fatty, come down, trophy, and I'm on the plane out of here. That's how he coached it. Like, y'all not gonna stop this show. It's just gonna happen.
And that's exactly what it was.
And you know, Steve Sarkisian, he has an interesting history with Alabama, because if all Tide fans well know that when Lane got the job at Florida, I believe Florida Atlantic, he couldn't. He was recruiting and doing staff, and he wasn't really locked in as far as Alabama's concerned, because he actually got that job during the semifinals when we played Washington and Atlanta, and it was like the game shouldn't even been that close. We barely won. We did win. We barely won. I say we. Alabama barely won. And then after the game, Nick told Lane, "You go ahead on to Florida." And then Sarkisian, who was was one of these analysts that Alabama historically brings in under Saban, he came down there and coached the national championship game. He was put in a bad situation, and a lot of Tide fans have not really let that go as far as Steve Sarkisian. And also, Steve Sarkisian was supposed to be the offensive coordinator right after Lane left, but instead he bolted to Atlanta for a year. I believe it was a year. Yeah, a year. And while he was gone, that's when Daboll, the offensive coordinator, well, he was a quarterback coach in New England at the time. He came to Alabama to Smith for 2nd and 26 for a championship. Daboll couldn't handle Saban's wrath. He fled back to Buffalo as an offensive coordinator, and Sarkisian came back once again to Alabama. Again, Tide fans did not like that move. I can tell you they did not like that move. But it proved genius.
Yeah, that was his best recruiting film that he could put out there. Look what we're going to do at Texas. If I get the athletes, look at what we're going to do at Texas for offense. Can you imagine that offense in the Big 12 where they don't play defense anyway? So,
well,
It was a thorough butt whipping. Bama beat them in total yards, 621 to 341. Time of possession, 37 minutes to 22 minutes. First downs, 33 to 19. Ed, but you had a hell of a nugget, and I would love if you can explain it. Tell these folks about the legacy of the 2017 Alabama recruiting class, which was the #1 recruiting class.
It may go down as the best offensive class ever assembled in college football history. And I'm not saying that because the championship is fresh and new. Because on the offensive side alone, every single player that I'm going to tell you about had at some point a first-round grade, and many of these players actually was drafted in the first and no lower than the second round. And so we had quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, Tua already a first-round pick. Mac Jones headed that way. You had Najee Harris, running back, potentially a first-round pick. Certainly, if I can tell anything about football, he's a first-round pick. Then you had the trio of wide receivers: Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, all-around superstar; Henry Ruggs, first-round pick to the Las Vegas Raiders; Jerry Jeudy, first-round pick, wide receiver to the Denver Broncos; Alex Leatherwood, first-round grade, offensive tackle; offensive tackle Jedrick Wills, who was a first-round pick of Cleveland this past year. Cleveland's moving on, and we'll get to that later. Safety Xavier McKinney had a first-round grade, but didn't get drafted in the first round. I believe he was the second pick of the second round this past 2020 draft. And Dylan Moses, who, if not for a torn ACL prior to last season, would almost certainly not be on this team today. He had a first-round grade last year, and entering this year, unfortunately, we found out a couple weeks ago that he said he has not quite fully recovered from that injury just yet. So that's the recruiting class, and we're not even talking about the long snapper who snaps for Alabama, who started every game he's been at Alabama. Every game, he won the award for the best long snapper in the nation this year. So it goes on and on.
They develop the talent. The talent moves on to the pros. If you have the stamina, the intelligence, and the ability to stick to it, and you go to Alabama, by your junior year, if you get on the field, there's a good chance you can play on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And that's hats off to Saban and his boys, because Saban's been in Alabama now 14 years, and Alabama was a dumpster fire when he came back after his little 2-year hiatus in the NFL with Miami. They were a dumpster fire. After his third year, he won his first national championship. He's won 6 national championships at Alabama in a 12-year span, 6 and 14 years altogether. And he's not slowing down because the #1 recruiting class is coming in next year. And Bryce Young was the #1 or #2 rated QB in the country, depending on which service you like. So they got a young quarterback that's going to put it on people, and he can use his arm and his leg coming out of modern day last year. So it's just going to keep on keeping on. So, again, congratulations to that Alabama Crimson Tide. We got number 17. Getting ready to work on number 18.
And ain't nobody talking about the perfect record that they had this year?
Well, I mean, so that was unprecedented what you mentioned, J3. And actually, Big Reg, we already at number 18. That was number 18 last night.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. So yeah, but what is significant about this championship, and I think it's the greatest team that under Nick Saban, I can say, because they didn't have 2 or 3 cupcakes. Let me keep it real. Everybody got a couple cupcakes in there. They didn't have an They didn't have an opportunity for cupcakes. They didn't even have Vanderbilt on their schedule. So that they had an all SEC schedule. They played what was it, a 11-game season against I'm sorry, no, it was an 11-game SEC schedule, right?
I thought it was 12.
No, the SEC schedule was 10 games for the season, plus they played the championship game, so they ended up 11 SEC games.
Right, 11, and then Notre Dame, and then the championship game. But no team has ever played that many SEC games ever. Ever. And the complaint was, well, why do they have to go out of conference play, say a Mercer or a Western Kentucky or the Citadel, whoever? They didn't do that. They played every team, and everyone knows if you look at NFL roster, SEC has over double the amount of the next closest conference as far as players playing in the NFL. So that's the best conference.
So Ed, let me ask you this: do you think they deserve an asterisk beside this record?
No, they deserve a star.
A star, because think about it. They played in they played during the pandemic.
Right.
Pandemic. Yeah, so that created challenges on its own. And I don't believe any Alabama player came down with COVID and had to miss a game. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I cannot recall one player having to sit out. Certainly not any of the big stars on the team had to sit out due to COVID. That's an accomplishment all on its own. The coach did, but yeah.
I mean, you gotta. Alabama spent the money. They were the first college program to say we're going to test our players every day, even though the SEC mandate was 3 times a week. They told the guys, and Saban talked about this in the post game. We gave our guys a plan. They had to basically isolate from everyone else except for that were non-team members, and they committed to each other. They did their classes online. They came to the facility, they worked out, went to practice. They went back home, and they just basically hung out with each other because they were on a mission. Mission accomplished.
Undefeated and the championship, without a doubt. Mission accomplished.
All right. Anybody else got any last words on that? Or
one more thing. I think it's a testament, and I'm sure Professor Jay will appreciate this. I think it's a testament and should be mentioned that Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, Alex Leatherwood, Dylan Moses, they came back, but apparently, according to Najee, they got together and talked about it. They said, we're not going to come back just to go through the motions. We're going to commit ourselves in the classroom. We're going to commit ourselves as far as showing these players how to practice. Amen. We're going to commit ourselves to going about and showing them this is the way you do it here at Alabama. So I think that's a testament, because four of those players I just mentioned, all those guys could be millionaires right now, but they delayed that. And there's no guarantee that another injury wasn't coming. Heck, Moses was coming off of an injury, a catastrophic injury. So for them to come back and put themselves in line to win another championship, 2, by the way, because they were freshmen, and then they bookended it with a championship their senior years, that's a testament to them, and their families should be proud of them. Not only the fans, but their families.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And to end it with this, every class that's come in with Nick Saban has gone to at least one national championship since he's been at Alabama.
Wow. Wow.
Talk about being able to back up a promise while you recruiting. I'm gonna get you to a national title. Get along half like commercials. Man.
So we will see right now, depending on who you like, Alabama or Clemson or 1 or 2 in the preseason 2021 poll. So we'll see. But let's move on to the NFL, to the big boys, where a lot of these players are looking to be on Sundays and during the playoffs on Saturdays. Before we get into the games, though, we got to talk real briefly about what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles over the week.
Sorry, Chris.
Clutch. Your man got fired on his day off. How your man get fired on his day off?
Well, Big Red, I mean, the rumor was he was trying to steal some cardboard boxes. I don't know. He was trying to build a clubhouse. Nah, that move right there, that was foul. That was foul. And let me tell you why. He was the fall guy on that one. Okay. Now let me tell you this. You certainly can absolve him from, you know, the lack of success that the team had. He is the head coach, right? But here's my thing. You gotta look at Carson Wentz too. You gotta look at Howie Roseman. Because last time I checked, you're the general manager who selects the talent for that team. So you pick Rieger and not Justin Jefferson. Before that, we could have had DK Metcalf. So imagine possibly having both of those on this roster, both of those receivers on this roster, and you know what that would look like. But certainly, it's not fair. This man is 3 years removed from winning a Super Bowl championship for the Eagles, the only one in the existence of that franchise. And he has a statue. How you gonna make that man? How you gonna kick that man off? How you gonna kick that man out? And he got a statue.
Well, we know the statues are made to be moved.
Right.
Yeah.
Down too.
Yeah, but I mean, so basically, my position is he shouldn't have been fired. You should have given him another chance. There were other moving pieces involved, other challenges he had. We had some folks that were hurt. You know, Carson Wentz was definitely struggling. And if I don't know if he would have necessarily made that move to take out Jalen Hurts and put in, you know, the backup if he knew he was going to be rolling out, you know. I'm sorry, not rolling out, but fired. So I don't like the move. I don't like it at all. Y'all tell me what you think.
You know, that move, hearing some things on the back channels today, it seems like there's been a lot going on in the front office of the Eagles, and that Peterson has taken a lot of flack for things that have been done that supposedly came from Howie Roseman. But I guess Roseman has a better relationship with Lori. And then, quite frankly, it came down to a money thing. Carson Wentz is getting $33 million a year. They still owe him almost $100 million. So who you going to get rid of? The guy you still owe almost $100 million, most of it guaranteed, hoping you could possibly trade him to somebody who might pick up that contract. Good luck with that. Or you get rid of the coach that you're paying $5 or $6 million.
Well, Clutch, let me ask you a question. What's the dynamics of the of the ownership / GM then down to the head coach at Philly? Meaning, did Roseman hire Peterson, or was that an owner directly hiring the head coach? Can you recall that when they hired Peterson?
I believe that was Jeffrey Lurie. That was Lurie hiring Peterson.
So the head coach, the former head coach now, Peterson, he wasn't Roseman's guy. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
No.
So whose decision was it to sign Carson Wentz, a fragile Carson Wentz, I might add, to that to that type of contract? Was that the head coach recommending to the owner that he signed, or was that the GM going to the owner saying, "Hey, we need this guy"? The GM.
It was Howie Roseman. That was all on him. Just like it's Howie Roseman now that doesn't want to keep Zach Ertz, and that's going to be an issue. But another topic.
So as an insider in Philadelphia, as far as the Eagles are concerned, how did Peterson? Why was he the fall guy? That's the question. That's my question to you, because I think he got a raw deal. But I actually, on the flip side of it, I think he wanted that raw deal. Because I think he wanted to actually get out of Philadelphia, but that's just my opinion. But what do you see on that? Do you think he was like, okay, I'll play this game, but I want to get out of here anyway?
So here's my position, Ed. I believe, first of all, somebody had to be the fall guy. It ain't going to ever be the owner. Okay, right. He's not going to take it. He's not going to eat it. All right. And you just said it, Howie Roseman. He has a better relationship with Jeffrey Lurie than Peterson does. So here's the dynamic. You remember a few years back when RG3 was playing with the Washington Redskins at the time, and he had the sleeve of Daniel Snyder. You know, he had his ear. So in my opinion, and I'm just telling you what I think, I'm not saying I heard it or anything like that. There is some speculation out there that this is the case, but it's possible that Carson Wentz had the ear of the owner. He had that direct line of communication to Jeffrey Lurie, right? So you automatically know. You can talk about it in basketball, you can talk about it in football. Whenever that happens, who is usually out the door in that situation? You know, it's normally the coach. Okay, so because of that, he had to take the fall guy tag. All right, I don't think he personally wanted to pay Carson Wentz that amount of money. Okay, and I don't think he personally, if he had stayed, I think Jalen Hurts would have been starting for the Philadelphia Eagles team. Now, would they have traded him? It would have been a challenge, like you said. I mean, it would have counted like $30 million against the cap. So that would have been dead money if we did trade him or get rid of him. But that's the biggest issue right there. From a talent perspective, I think Carson Wentz, sometimes you got to remind non-Philly fans, a few years ago when we won the Super Bowl, he took us to a 12-game, not a 12-game win streak, but we won 12 games with him before he got hurt against that game in the Rams, against the Rams. And then that's when Nick Foles came in. Aside from that, he and Tom Brady were the only two quarterbacks considered for the MVP that year. So he was playing extraordinary. He got hurt, Nick Foles came in, and we know what happened then, all right? But that was a while ago. And so I don't think you can absolve, like I said, you can't absolve Coach Peterson for that. I mean, look at his stats. Okay, look what he's done in the time he's been with Philly. Okay, he's done some good things, and on top of that, he has winning seasons, and on top of that, he got that organization a Super Bowl championship. Now, who are you going to bring in? Well, I'm glad you asked. Please let it be Eric Bieniemy. Woo! Please let it be. I'd be happy to have him come. He may not want to come after he saw what went on, but I would love to have him there.
Yeah, he's not. I don't see that happening because don't forget, Peterson is also an Andy Reid disciple, and he's not going to. And then they basically ran Andy Reid out of Philadelphia. I don't think that's going to happen.
2 times this has happened with Reid and Peterson.
Well, I'm gonna say this: it's clearly a power struggle that was going on in Philly, and it was actually one that he was never going to win in the first place. You know, Roseman has been there since 2010, and Peterson came in 2016 when he was hired. They never gave him any type of influence or power over any personnel decisions. And we know that any head coach, especially a Super Bowl winning head coach, will want to have some say so on the players that they bring in. Definitely the players that they sign to like multiple year and big money contracts. So with that said, I don't think it ever settled down between those two going in. Now, I know before the show came on, we talked a little bit about a conspiracy that could have went on. I remember a reporter right after the Washington football game against the Eagles asked him, were you working alone? And he really didn't answer the question. Could it be that Mr. Roseman and him colluded to do something like that, and then Mr. Roseman threw him under the bus after everything was done, just so he can get him up out of there? Because one thing that I know is that if a general manager and a head coach don't mesh well together, one of them is going to do things to get the other one out of there. Remember when Marty Schottenheimer won 14 games out in San Diego? And I believe the GM there was A.J. Smith, I think. Yep. And he was fired right after that season. 14-2, y'all, and got fired after that season. And that kind of derailed the Chargers too for a very long time. But when you have those power struggles, they never get past them to the point where even winning a Super Bowl that they can actually settle things down. So I'm thinking, some of that happened here and he got shown the door.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, Professor Jay, here's the thing, and I'll say this real quick. At that point, when Peterson won the Super Bowl, when they won the Super Bowl with him coaching, that was the time when he should have said, look, okay, I want to have more influence on the talent that comes in. I want to have more influence on who I bring in. Because at that point in time, your name ain't going to get any bigger, the light ain't going to shine any bigger, and your demand is going to be, you're going to have to, even taking into consideration if you're Lurie or Harry Roseman. So
he might have.
Smart, and he might have, but
we won't know until he write a book, right?
Do y'all realize he didn't even have control over his own staff? A Super Bowl coach didn't have control over his own staff.
That's what I'm saying.
That's crazy. I'm telling you, he wanted to get out of there.
Yeah. Well, especially after this season. I mean, it was just too much going on with Wentz and just with the team, and it was just a lot going on in Philly.
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave y'all before we move off of this with another conspiracy theory that a young, bright, innovative coach from University of Oklahoma may be coming this way, and that makes a little more sense of why Jalen was drafted in the second round. Just saying. Just saying.
Hey, Big Reg, can I just say something before we go to the next topic real quick?
Go ahead.
We're not doing that great with college coaches. Chip Kelly.
I hear you. All right, so let's go on to the game. And some of the games were good. Some of the games were a little rough to watch. We'll just knock them out real quick in order. Bills opened up wild card weekend on Saturday. Game was a lot closer than a lot of people thought. They beat the Colts 27-24. And if it wasn't for Josh Allen, the Bills wouldn't have won that game because Josh Allen put on a show. 26 for 35, 324 yards, 2 TDs passed and no interceptions. And then he ran for 54 yards with a TD. So between him and Stephon Diggs, they were all offense for the most part for the Bills. But if the Colts had he didn't got to be a great quarterback. If the Colts had a legitimate good quarterback that could throw the ball more than 20 yards down the field, the Bills would have been in trouble.
It was a good game. It was a good game. The outcome ended up the way we thought it was.
So my suggestion for Phillip Rivers, Phillips, 39, 38, get ready to turn 39 or 39, get ready to turn 40.
Something like that.
He's already got his high school coaching job already lined up. It's time to go down to South Alabama, start your high school head coaching. And Indianapolis Colts are a good quarterback, not a good quarterback away from being a serious threat to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, so who's the quarterback? We might as well touch on it. Who you think?
There's going to be some current NFL quarterbacks that are going to be out on the market.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Detroit Lions quarterback.
Matthew Stafford
that could just plug and play pretty much there.
Well, he rumored to be going to WFT. They might throw their hat in the ring.
Of course, the Colts are currently spending $45 million on 2 quarterbacks. So they could absorb the cost of Wentz if they can get Philly to let him go. That would be their number one option. Coordinator. But I still think Dak is not out of the question. Because I think Dak's going to play hardball with the Cowboys, and they're not going to be able to come to a resolution. If not, Mac Jones will look really good in the Colts uniform next year.
Wow.
Don't say.
They got the best offensive line in the NFL. They got a good young running back. They got 2 young receivers. They still got the old vet. Mac Jones could plug and play into that system pocket passer, move a little bit. Just saying.
They got 3 good running backs.
Who do y'all think's an option?
I don't think a rookie is. See, the problem is you never know what you're going to get with these rookies coming in. Now, Mac has the maturity. He's not going to be a typical rookie, I think, because he had the fortune of sitting behind 2 pro quarterbacks and really taking his time to mature. So he might work out as different as far as a rookie is concerned. I don't know, man. There's so many quarterbacks right there. Well, actually, no. Let me rephrase that. The teams that have good quarterbacks, they're not letting them go. And so the only thing you have left is has-me bins. Stafford. Okay, how much? What Stafford got left? He's not exactly lighting it up in Detroit. Stat wise, yeah, but stats don't win games. And that's not all his fault, but whatever. Then you have, who else is there? A third stringer at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Big Ben, he's shot, but he ain't going nowhere. He got $41 million coming next year. So no, really, who's out there? Then you have Jameis. You have the reclamation project of Jameis. I don't think that's Frank. I don't think that's Frank Wright's cup of tea.
And broke Sean Payton might not be willing to let him go.
Nah, he's gonna stay in New Orleans.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know. And then they have Eason. For people forget that they drafted a quarterback, and I think he was a 3rd rounder this year, second rounder.
Wasn't he Michigan State? Wasn't he from Michigan State?
Nah, he was at Georgia, got chased out by Fromm, and he ended up in Washington and basically sucked there too.
Yes. They're going to have a pick in the 20s. I think Mac might be sitting there.
He's not. Mac Jones will be drafted before the number 15.
I'm sure.
Okay. I
promise you.
So was it talk that this is Phillip Rivers' last season? He want to just take care of all 7 of his kids and then just, be good with that?
Well, he only signed a 1-year, $25 million contract, so he's a free agent. So yeah, they're not going to give him another $25 million. They would be crazy.
If he want to come play for $5 million, they might let him come back on the team. But the coach said he wants him back, but the GM and the owner ain't trying to have that. They got too much lined up, and they got a defense that's ready to win before they really start having to pay a lot of their stars.
They don't have any belief in the brother that's the backup. What's his name?
Jacoby
Brissett.
Yeah, they don't have no belief in him.
Why do you think they brought in a 39-year-old old man that can't throw the ball past 20 yards? That tells you everything you need to know. I hope Jacoby need to go back to New England. That's been the only system he's been effective in. And they need a quarterback.
Yeah, because Cam ain't going to be there.
No.
Cam.
So the second game was this was a dog. The Rams versus the Seahawks.
You called it, Big Red. You predicted it. Didn't you? You took the Rams, didn't you? I remember.
The Rams defense, Aaron Donald is that dude.
Yeah.
He's that dude. He's that dude.
And the destruction he provides from the defense, and then you got another dog on the corner that can take the best wide receiver pretty much out the game. I knew that was going to be problems. I just didn't know if the Rams would be able to score. But, of course, that pick 6 by Darius Williams, when they was trying to throw a wide receiver screen to DK Metcalf, because just the series before, he went to the sidelines, complaining, throwing his helmet, talking about they wasn't getting him involved in the game because he got taken out the game by the number 1 cornerback in the NFL. That was a beautiful play. Once that happened, it was game over.
Yeah, but Russell just didn't look the same. He wasn't getting no protection from his offensive line. And then he on blitzes and still took sacks. I'm like, dude, run.
Yeah. That's nothing new. He's been doing that for 5 years.
I know.
I'm hip. Well, Jay, that's the norm.
It's real frustrating. Yeah, that was a straight whooping. They couldn't handle that defensive line, none of them. Because even after Donald got hurt and went out, they was still punishing him. Yeah. I mean, his line is so bad that if they don't put some money into this line, some effort into this line, Russell Wilson gonna be hurt next year. I'm telling you, he can't bring it on like this. He can't.
But they've been doing. They haven't done anything for that line since he's been there. He's been running the whole time he's been there. But
he's getting older. That's
yeah, that's true. But the another surprise for me was Goff was not even supposed to play. Don't forget, the backup was the starter, and Goff came off the bench. Well, yeah, well.
It looked like that.
I mean, the man was playing with a broken thumb. He couldn't even grip the ball.
Yeah, he couldn't. Woo.
Still won, though.
Yeah, they still won. So that tells you everything you need to know about
defense.
Seattle.
Yeah, that defense.
And let's be real, fellas. It ain't no 12th man this year.
No.
So there's no. I mean, that used to be, that's 3 points right there. I mean, at least 3 points. So, it's tough to whereas probably one of the tougher stadium, probably if not the toughest stadium to play on the road is Seattle, because not only is it loud, the weather is iffy, and then you have to travel. It's just a difficult place to get to. So all I'm saying is, the Rams deserve the win. They probably were. Well, you predicted it, Big Reg. They were going to win. There's just no home field advantage this year. It's out the window.
Yeah, the COVID NFL season. Bucks at Washington.
Not a surprise.
That's a good thing.
Not a surprise.
The game was a lot better than most people expected.
Yeah.
Washington defense kept them in the game most of the game.
But Heineke did his thing, though.
Taylor
Heineke did his thing.
He proved that he can play in the NFL. I'm not saying he's a starter, but he proved that he can be an NFL team's number 2 QB. And if your number 1 goes down, he's got the moxie to go in and run an offense. And if you got a bad team where you don't necessarily have a number 1, he could possibly compete for a job until you find your number 1.
He was moving the ball, accurate passes, and he used his legs. What more could you ask for?
I'm going to say it tonight. I said it on the game. Did not Colt McCoy and other countless quarterbacks for this team flash in the pan, gave you a few games, and then they showed up who they really were after that, and we end up running them out of here. So
but never in a playoff game.
But if they think that this guy is even a number 2 in their future, I'm really hoping that the scouts up at I almost said the park, up at Washington Football Team Park, really do some more research and kind of look at who else is out there. I mean, I'm not sold because I've seen this before. I've seen this movie too many times. Outside of Cleveland and I think maybe New York, this team has the most rotation and roller coaster of quarterbacks in the last 25 years. So I'm not buying it. I'm just not.
Well, I would say, to your point, Professor J, here's my position. The thing is, he came in, he played very well. I would definitely give him that. But you didn't have much to go off of. How many times have we seen a game where the starting quarterback gets hurt, and then the backup comes in, and then he flourishes, In this case, you didn't have much tape. You didn't have much to go off of. So he got to flourish, but I tell you what, if this was a regular season game, and let's say he was starting next week, and the defensive coordinators and the defense had a chance to review the tape and catch on to some things, then his success may not have been as good. But he did his thing. I'm not going to take anything away from him. I just don't think you should be throwing parties and parades for him right now. That's all. Right. And he was going up against, a Tom Brady team that is loaded. They were loaded.
On offense.
And so forth.
On offense.
On offense.
That defense ain't nothing to write home about. They got a line. Their secondary, please.
It was enough to win. So I mean, you can't take nothing away from them. We'll see what they're gonna do this weekend.
We know what they're gonna do this weekend.
Just think about it. The Washington football team, quite honestly, doesn't have any quarterbacks. Alex Smith needs to retire. Great story. I'm happy for him. He was able to come back, get back on the field, but you can't tell me that strained calf isn't part of that surgery. He keeps saying it's not, but they removed half of his calf in the surgery.
Yeah.
So you can't continue to do that. So he has to go. The quarterback that they brought up from Carolina,
Kyle
Allen, lost his job in every competitive place he's ever played at, including college 3 times. Every place he's lost his job. So Kyle Allen ain't the answer. So they need to move on. But I will, on the positive side, Tom Brady, it seems like they've worked out their issues between what offense they're running. Are they running the no risk it, no biscuit? Or are they running New England? They running a variable in between. And Brady's looked good for the last 4 weeks. So can't wait till this Sunday to see the old men go after that. We'll get to that in a second.
You breathe. That's right. Who that?
I am so happy for Lamar Jackson because he led them Baltimore Ravens. They got to get some get back against the Tennessee Titans. He got a monkey off his back, so they can't say that Lamar can't win in the playoffs. And the best thing about it, he did it playing Ravens, Lamar Jackson football. When things broke down, Lamar did what he had to do. And that 48-yard TD run, that was something special.
Yeah. Only thing I can compare that one to was the Vince Young run against USC in that title game. That's how electric that run was.
What about Michael Vick?
Yeah, that Michael Vick playoff run that he went down the middle and split 5 guys. Yeah.
That's up there too. That's up there.
That might have been an electric run, but that's not the reason Baltimore won the game. Lamar Jackson's not the reason Baltimore won the game. There's 2 reasons Baltimore won the game. Number one, there was the return of the Ravens defense. Their defense was smothering. I mean,
Campbell.
Their defense absolutely dominated Tennessee. Number one. Number 2, Tennessee's coaching staff forgot how to coach. But again,
agreed.
That's my take. Again, that's just my opinion. Lamar had a pretty good game. He had over 100 on the ground, 100 over a little bit over 100 passing. So he had wasn't monster stats, so to speak, but their defense was thoroughly dominant in that game. Thoroughly.
Henry down. Shut the game down.
And can I add?
Hold up. They limited Henry to 18 carries. I think he had 40 yards or so.
Yeah.
But they stopped running him. You have to keep running the man. It's playoff time. Why stop? You got to keep trying because Tannehill, you all know how I feel about Tannehill.
Because they weren't in position to play bully ball. That's why they stopped running them.
Yep.
They weren't in that position they were used to being in, where he could run into the 4th quarter. By that time, they were already like, oh, they stopping them. We got to put the game in Tannehill's hand. That's the decision they made.
But the final score
that was their fault.
Okay,
what were you going to say, Clutch?
No, I was just going to say to Ed's point. I mean, he's exactly right because the week before, look what they did to Tennessee. Look what they did to Houston. Cost me my championship in the fantasy football, but I'm okay. Watching Baltimore play last week. But anyway, I digress. No, he's exactly right because when you're able to stop, Derrick Henry, and you have to make Tannehill be a quarterback and pass on you, look what happened.
It ain't gonna work.
Look what happened. It ain't gonna happen. So he is handcuffed to him. So they go as far as Henry goes. Period.
Yeah,
and Ed's right. The Titans got outcoached just like the year before in the playoffs. The Ravens coaching team kind of froze and went against their nature. And remember, when the Titans played Green Bay and they didn't run Henry got like 10 carries in the first half and only like 11 in the second half. You got to give that man 30 carries at least in a game like this because he gets speed and moves on as the game goes on. So, again, congratulations to the Ravens. They get to move on. Then you had those Saints.
Who that?
Professor?
Who that?
If that wide receiver, I can't even remember which wide receiver it was. If that Bears wide receiver doesn't drop that beautiful touchdown pass early in the game, that game might have been a little different because your Saints didn't look great, but Chicago was awful on offense.
They didn't have to. It's sort of like what Kansas City does to people. They know when they got to play at their top speed. They didn't have to.
Yeah. So I think it's time for Trubisky to, go find a backup job somewhere, and maybe he can rehabilitate his career. But he got to get up out of Chicago.
But that wasn't his fault that they lost that game.
I agree.
Especially when the receivers weren't catching the balls that he literally laid in their pockets. I mean, goodness gracious.
And I will say this, Sean Payton was frustrating me because he wasn't allowing the Saints to get in any type of rhythm because he kept pulling Kamara out. He kept putting Taysom Hill in, pulling Breeze out. It is like he didn't have any continuity in his offense. I was so shocked. I thought he was going to put Jameis Winston in that because he kept making many personnel decisions. And I'm glad Mike got to eat a little bit, but they ain't really target him that much in that game. So I was kind of baffled by his game plan in this game, but I just chalked it up as they was just toying with the Bears. And
that's what it was. We just played the Bears.
But you also got to remember that this was the first game back since they had that team continuity with Mike Thomas, playing, and Kamara. I believe he was on the protocols for COVID. So you also got to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, I agree. And then the game of the weekend, Sunday night.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. Nobody could have seen that coming.
I did.
No, you said they was going to win, but you couldn't have seen that coming. The first snap, a former pro, not Pro Bowl, all pro center snaps the ball over a 6'5" quarterback's head.
And they buddies too.
Come on, dude.
Well, see, first of all, if you haven't followed Pittsburgh and particularly Big Ben's career, then you would have been like baffled. But if you quiz any Steeler fan, like real Steeler fan, I'm not talking about no fly by night fan, but if you quiz any Steeler fan, we've been in this party. We've been to this party before. This is nothing new, meaning that we've seen 3, 4, 2 interceptions, 4 turnovers, 3 turnovers, lose at home. It's happened. So after the first snap, I knew what lied ahead. It was not a shock to me because don't forget, and you mentioned it a few minutes ago, Big Reg, and you didn't even realize it when you said, "What's Bruce Arians' philosophy as far as offense?
No risk and no biscuit."
Big Ben is trained. He's a Bruce Arians. That's why Bruce Arians isn't in Pittsburgh, by the way. He is trained. Bruce Arians is the mentor of Ben Roethlisberger. And what it is with Big Ben is you got to take the big good with the bad. And it's been consistent. It's not been inconsistent. It's been consistent the entire – look at his stats. You can check his career stats. It's been consistent throughout his career that he takes chances. Well, when he was 24 or 31, he can take those chances. Now, it's like a fighter. You like fighting. You like fighting, Big Reg. We all of us in here is big fight or fight fans. You see a fighter step into the ring, but he's just a little slow in his response. That's what you see in Big Ben. His mind tells him he can still perform, but his body can't perform anymore. So he's not going to change. He can't change who he is. He's 38 years old. He's been in the league for 16 years. He's incapable of change. So this is what you get. And again, this was house money. This game was house money because if you remember, you can check the tapes. I said they wouldn't win another game after the Redskins lost. Now, oh my gosh.
We know you're frustrated. I
said they wouldn't win another game after the Washington football team defeat. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody, but they luckily beat the Colts. Yeah. So this was house money, but it was going to end. It was going to end anyway. It was best that it came mercifully to an end Sunday night.
Yeah, the problem is, in order to avoid some cap hell this year, they tweaked Ben's contract again. So Big Ben will have the highest cap hit next year. They only owe him like $25 million in actual money, but his cap hit is like 41.2.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's the problem. I think they need to whisper in Ben's ear, just take Ben, it's time. Just go ahead and retire and be nice. And you let us off the hook.
He's not leaving $25 million on the table.
I wouldn't. Are we gonna give any shine to Cleveland because y'all acting like Cleveland wasn't even on the field?
No, they had 5 turnovers. Come on, man. Weiss High School you can't beat Weiss High School with 5 turnovers.
Come on, Eric, give him some props, man.
No, I can't.
Hold on, Chubb. You ain't gonna give Chubb or Kareem Hunt any love?
No.
Mayfield played a good game.
Run on. If you only had to run from the 30 3 times.
Hold on, man. They took the opportunity that they had and utilized it to their advantage.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You'll see Cleveland this weekend. Because Kansas City's not turning the ball over 5 times. I promise you. They're not turning the ball over 5 times.
Yeah, but we're not talking about next week. We're talking about last week. Keep up, man. Keep up.
Well, yeah, last 5 turnovers. What team has ever won a game with 5 turnovers?
Agreed.
He threw the ball 68 times, Ed. 68.
Well, you had to.
Run the ball.
There was 28 points scored in the first quarter. It was a playoff record. It was the most points ever scored since the merger in 1970. It was the most points ever scored against a team in the first quarter in the playoffs. It was 28 points. They had to throw, but they couldn't. They can't run the ball. How was they going to run? What was they going to run for? They can't. They don't have a legitimate NFL running back on their roster.
So then answer me this: how did they self-destruct this weekend? How did that happen?
Well, I mean, they turnovers. They turnovers.
How did it turn? How did it go to just one turnover after another? Like, how did that snowball happen with the Steelers?
The same way that Big Ben had 5 turnovers in a game against Jacksonville, coming off the Super Bowl the year after the Super Bowl. It happened. I mean, we've seen it. I told you, we've seen this. Yeah. We've seen this before.
He picked a fine time.
Once you have a freak play like the first offensive play of the game, goes over your head, that throws you off for a little while, and then Ben comes back, throws interception. It was game over from there. So,
and Big Reg, you know what that reminded me of? When something similar happened to Peyton Manning in the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, and they were never right. I think the Seahawks crushed them in that Super Bowl. I think the ball went over his head or something, first play of the game. I don't think it was quite a touchdown. It might have been a safety, but they were never right after that. It was bad.
But at least they went out. Legitimately. No, seriously. At least they went out legitimately, and as far as improving their draft stock and not shady like the Eagles did. So I'm proud of that.
Oh, there you go. Last year.
Shots and jabs. Jabs and shots.
That ain't even right. All right, so we gotta move on. we got to move on. So let's talk about the divisional round games. You got Rams versus Packers, Saturday, 4:35 p.m. I think the big question is Aaron Donald going to play? And if he's going to play, is he going to be healthy? And even with Aaron Donald, can that Rams defense stop the Packers' hot offense? And can they score enough points even if they slow them down?
That's the point. I think the defense can do enough to keep Aaron Rodgers and them boys in check. But my thing is Goff with that thumb throwing ducks. I mean, I just don't know if the offense can score enough points against Green Bay at home in order to upset them. So I'm taking Packers.
Packers by 14.
So here's my position. One of the big key losses that Green Bay has lost, injuries that Green Bay had was their guard. I can't think of his name right now. Off the top of my head, but I'm sorry, left tackle. I'm sorry. Yeah, the left tackle. And that was a big thing. That's a big thing for them because he's one of the main reasons why Aaron Rodgers is protected in that backfield. However, they are signing the guy from Indianapolis to come over and play this weekend, which is interesting because he's the first person who's ever done that, but he wasn't on the 53-man roster, so he was able to sign with Green Bay. Anywho, the thing is, I'll pick Green Bay in this game because regardless of Aaron Donald coming back or not, Green Bay is hot. They got the run game, they got the passing game, and even though you'll say, well, who's the corner? I can't think. The corner for who's the cornerback we were talking about earlier for the Rams? Rams. They're going to put him on Devontae Adams.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing, though. I don't think he's going to be able to shut him down like he did. Like he's going to be able to cover him like he does Metcalf. Because do you see his footwork? Do you see what he does before he comes off the line? You can't even get a hand on him. And he runs great routes. So DK Metcalf, he's stronger, he's bigger, he's even faster. But Devontae Adams is a route runner. And so I think he's going to. And then they got to come to Green Bay, too. You got to come to Green Bay. And I know you said there's no home field advantage, but you want to play in Green Bay?
I'm sorry, that there is with Green Bay because Friday is going to be 86 degrees in LA. It's going to be 27 in snow in Green Bay. LA is going to get smoked.
LA should leave now.
It's not even going to be competitive.
They should leave right now and try to get acclimated to that weather.
You right, yeah, Clutch, you right. I'm sorry, you right because that is a home field advantage. My bad.
Yeah. So I think we all picking Green Bay. We don't expect anything. The nightcap on Saturday is the Ravens versus the Bills.
Good game.
Can Lamar and the hot Ravens go into Buffalo and get a win?
Yeah.
Or Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs just keep doing their thing?
If they play like they played the Colts, the Ravens going in there to get a win. But if they get back to form like they were probably mid-season, then I expect Buffalo to handle business at home. But that dynamic of the Ravens defense really showing up, because I didn't know they were going to show up that well against Tennessee. If they show up like that again, then they will put some clamps on Mr. Diggs. Not slow him down. Not stop him, but slow him down enough. And then they'll have some spies ready for my quarterback. I'm not rooting for him this weekend, but I think that the Ravens will go up and get it done. Because Buffalo almost lost to the Colts. Let's just be for real. A couple of better coaching decisions in that game. I know we talked about Rivers, but there were a couple of key coaching decisions in that game. Had it were done differently, it would have came out.
Like kicking field goal.
Yeah, exactly. That field goal.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Professor J. Who has a better defense, the Colts or the Ravens?
Ravens.
Okay.
Who you like?
I actually like so if Baltimore's defense steps up, okay, and they don't allow Jackson to run all over him like he did last week, then I personally think that, Buffalo is going to win. It just depends on their defense. If their defense plays well and shows up, lately the defense hasn't been playing really well, but if their defense plays well and shows up and steps up, because they can put up some points, and I think a lot of it has to do, for Baltimore is riding on Lamar Jackson's legs. Okay. Legs don't get you quick points as much as as passes do to me. So we've seen Diggs, he can score pretty much at will, but the defense shows up. I say Buffalo will win that game.
Yeah, real quick, to your point, Lamar was finding Hollywood Brown a few times in this game. So Lamar is developing as a passer. And I think he can prove that more as these playoffs go on.
Yeah, but this ain't the time to be trying to prove that.
What was that?
I said, yeah, but this ain't the time for him to be trying to prove that. This is something that he should have already had ready to perfect prior to the playoffs. This is go time right now.
So now you don't want him to hit the open receivers, J3? Come on.
No, I'm saying if he has that opportunity, he should.
That's my point. If the play is there and he has the receivers, to me, he's been developing. What has been one of our biggest criticisms of him, that he's all legs and not developing his arm enough. I think in the last few games, probably the last 3 games, and in the regular season, in this playoff game, he is showing some progress in his arm.
I still like Buffalo.
If the Ravens coaching staff come up with a good offensive plan and play Ravens football, they can keep it close. Buffalo's the better team right now. Ravens can keep it close. If it stays close in the fourth quarter, Lamar can do something special, but I also like Buffalo. I think Buffalo's the hottest team in the NFL. Sunday, we got the Browns at the Chiefs.
Next.
Wow.
They might do something special, yeah.
They got some hate on there, boy.
Are you not concerned that most of the offensive starters will have not played any football for 3 weeks?
Come on, man. Come on.
Okay. So hey, you don't think Cleveland got a chance? That's what you're saying?
Look, I know it was mop-up duty and they was coming from behind and what have you, and Ben they still scored 37 points. Pittsburgh still scores 37 points against Cleveland. Mm-hmm. That's 70 points with Kansas City.
Yeah.
They're going to get destroyed.
Cleveland didn't get any sacks against Pittsburgh, and Ben ain't moving, so
they're going to get destroyed.
If you can't get to Ben,
that's a good point.
How you gonna let Mahomes just sit back there and throw the ball? So
no.
Actually, I'd like to add something. So here's my position. If the run game for the Cleveland Browns is successful and they're able to keep Mahomes off the field, and it's, you heard this before, whether it's Brady, whether it's Mahomes, whether it's Rodgers, whether it's Drew Brees, whether it's, whoever the case may be, Russell Wilson, whoever. But it's all about the run game. If they can keep pounding the ball and running the ball, eat up some of that clock, time of possession, and then maybe get a stop here or there. Now, I ain't drink today, so I ain't saying that Cleveland's going to win this game, okay, by all means. I'm not saying that at all right? Clutch is not drunk over here, okay? What I'm saying is they may have a chance in that first quarter.
Okay. Yeah, Kansas City will let you hang around for a while because they like playing with people. But I think they might come out and prove a point to everybody that, they was just lollygagging through the regular season because then now it's go time. So we'll see. Professor, you like Cleveland?
No, I ain't saying like I said they might pull off something special. I'm going with Kansas City because I think that they about to throttle things up, whether they've been resting or not. Now they're about to play their true football because they've actually been just waiting for this point anyway, so that they can play whatever 2 or 3 games that they need to hoist another Lombardi and ride off into the sunset. So I think Andy Reid is that great of a coach. He is going to have this team prepared, and I think they're going to take what the Browns do well, which is their running game, and they're going to remove it away from them. They're going to make Baker Mayfield do it on his own, and just like we saw with Tannehill, he's going to come up short. And that offense is just unstoppable. So, I mean, it's just that's the way it is.
All right. So the last game of the weekend, I like to call this the retirement bowl. You got the 41-year-old Drew Brees leaving the New Orleans Saints against the Vincent 43-year-old Tom Brady. The question is, this is round 3 for the season. Is it going to be any different? Because the first 2 go-rounds, New Orleans spanked Tampa both times.
Who that?
Punched him in the mouth.
Who that?
And said, go back home. Y'all still the little boys in this division.
It's going to happen again.
The only issue is 3 times is tough. Because now nothing would suggest with the first 2 games between New Orleans and Tampa that Tampa has any hope of winning this game because they looked horrible both matchups, and it wasn't even competitive if you can recall.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But beating a team 3 times in a season, even with Bruce Arians as the head coach, that's kind of that's just a tall task. I just think it's a tall task.
It's not even gonna be close.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, they're at home, they're comfortable, and again, I don't think they're another team that I don't think has pulled out all of their tricks out of their bags yet. They have so many more things that they can do. Michael Thomas is back 100. Well, he might be 90%, but he's back on the field. Breeze is proven that he's got other weapons on that field, as you saw against Chicago. I think Kamara will be at full strength. Latavius Murray will be out there. I mean, I don't really like Cook, but Cook makes some catches, right? I think that offense will be on high power mode the entire time. And we already know about the defense. The defense has been early in the year, but towards the end of the season, they've really come up big. They playing sharp and they hitting. So, I think it's going to be more of the same. I really do.
Come on, Clutch. Tell me something different.
Wish I could, Rich. I wish I could, man. I mean, I'll just be short and sweet. I think New Orleans will win, but you can't discount Tampa Bay. I mean, you know, Tom Brady in the playoffs, man. You know, they loaded on offense, and I know they beat them 2 previous times and all that. And like Ed was saying, it's tough. I mean, you got to think about the mentality. They're coming in and they're hungry. They know they've been slaughtered 2 times and beat down. So, you know, they're back, you know, up against the wall, you know, and it will look very bad on them if they lost. Drew Brees and company, on the other hand, you know, Drew Brees is like, look, I'm going to work for NBC after, you know, this season. I want to ride into the sunset. I want to win a championship. I want to select. Well, Brady doesn't have as much pressure because he has all those rings. You know, no one's putting all this pressure on him. This is his first time coming to Tampa Bay, first season playing with them. You know, so he'll get somewhat of a pass. Okay, but Drew Brees, on the other hand, I mean, he only has 1 championship ring with Sean Payton, and it's been a while since they've been to the Super Bowl. So a lot is riding on this because I think this is probably his best team that he's had to play with, and he's going out this year. So New Orleans, I believe, will win this game, but you know, you can't count Tampa Bay out. You can't count them out because of the mentality and where they are. You can't count them out.
Who you got, J3?
Oh man, I'm going with Who Dat Nation all day.
All right, so here I go again. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to beat the New Orleans Saints. It's going to be 27-24.
No way.
And we are going to see Drew Brees, unfortunately, get a chance to start his NBC career a little early.
You mean there'll be another phantom pass interference call or some type of sketch like that? Because if we're talking about a straight up game, nah, it ain't happening. All right. We'll be here next week, y'all.
We'll be here next week. We'll see. All right, Professor, it's time for your takes. We're running a little late, but that's my fault. So take your time, knock out your takes, and we can get out of here.
Oh man, I didn't know you was coming to me so soon. All right, here we go, y'all. We're gonna do it real quick, rapid fire. Okay. Bye-bye, Big Doug Peterson, or Dig Doug Peterson is what I had. Many answers have been given to your questions on the final game of the season against the WFT. Peterson must have thought the principal owner, Jeffrey Lurie, was stupid too. In the words of the Honorable Coach Herman Edwards, you play to win the game. Hello? Pittsburgh. This soap opera is about to heat up. The Steelers just got embarrassed to follow it up. The Grim Reaper, known as Cap Hell, is about to visit Three Rivers Nation. They have many free agents in key positions, including Juju Smith-Schuster. With uncertainty surrounding Big Ben's future, does Pittsburgh have the QB of the future in the works? Because he surely is not on the roster. Waddle, and we all fall down. Great to see star wideout Jalen Waddle back on the field, but that ankle was not ready. Great play, and the limp was in. The NFL went crazy on Twitter. Patrick Mahomes, Dez Bryant, A.J. Brown, Darius Leonard, and many others let out a collective groan heard around the NFL. Nick, sit him down. Waddle, protect your future. Don't let him do it, coach. Glad they all listened for some parts of it. First round grade, please don't blow it. And I hope he didn't. God does have a sense of humor. We have all killed former Houston Texans head coach Bill O'Brien on this show. You all know the Crimson Tide blood runs deep on this show. It hurts and is kind of facetious move to bring O'Brien on as the offensive coordinator at Alabama. I swear this good old boy network makes you want to vomit sometimes. Well, I won't jinx it, so I will stop there before Big Reg cuts off my mic.
Yeah, it's not done yet. Not done yet.
A proper salute to the New England head coach, Bill Belichick. How many people will turn down the Presidential Medal of Freedom? Well, we know of at least one, and he has declined based on his conscience and those that he represents. It takes great courage to stand in the face of tyranny. Politics aside, I always respect Americans that know the difference between right and wrong, and our nation is void of much moral fortitude these days for some. Thanks, Coach, for showing what a true patriot looks like. Humpty Dumpty. The NBA received so much respect for putting its players in a bubble and finished the season without many outbreaks of COVID or many violations by players. Just a few months later, the NBA resembles so many other sports leagues that just don't seem to get it. Even if they are not in a bubble, so of what? Man, what did I write here? They should have learned that they should have implemented more safety protocols to keep people safe, including families and team personnel. With calculations mounting and COVID contact episodes going up, this young season is already in jeopardy. Boogie down unproductions. Boogie Cousins has been ejected twice in 5 games. He must be channeling his inner Rasheed Wallace and Dennis Rodman. He just got into it with Markieff Morris after some body checks and heated exchanges. Boogie, I like the fire, but you might want to pipe it down. You are slated to get a ring from the Lakers. I would hate for them to have a change of heart because of you swiping at the king. Bradley Beal is on fire. Brad is averaging 35 points per game early in this season. He is continuing with the same chip he had on his shoulder last year after he was snubbed for the All-Star team. Without Wall and now without Westbrook, he is just a monster. Now that Thomas Bryant is down for the year, this team goes as Bill goes. My nerves are jacked up. January 1st is supposed to be filled with the joy and promise of a new year, but I keep having nightmares from the national championship from 2013. Big Red, you killed me on this one. That's old. Moving on. Grand opening, grand closing. The NHL just keeps reeling. In a statement that shocked North America, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman says it would be cheaper for us to shut the doors and not play. The financial stability of the NHL was already rocky, and with the pandemic, they are sinking deeper into financial straits. They are set to lose billions of dollars this season. Fans are so critical to this sport. Without the loyal Puck fans, it is extremely hard just to rely on television revenue, which is dwindling. but they got some life this season with a brand new television deal. Bettman is right, convincing the owners to play, because out of sight and out of mind could doom the NHL. Play on, boys. I will be watching. And lastly, to the PGA. As the nation seemed to vote for real change in this historic election, we now have professional sports and other organizations taking a stand and letting their voices be heard. The PGA Championship 2022 will be pulled from Trump National Bedminster. Cutting ties now provides enough time to find another venue, and the planning can begin to move on from this course for obvious reasons. There are so many great golf courses out there. They won't have any trouble. Just glad that the choice was made. And those are our post takes for this week.
And I call BS on Gary Bettman. The NHL ain't making billions of dollars a year. I'm just saying.
That's what was printed. I'm just reporting what was printed and what was
said. I saw that too. Yeah. So, real quick, UFC returns this Saturday. Headlined by former champ Max Holloway, and it's actually going to be on regular network TV. It's going to be on ABC instead of ESPN or ESPN Plus. NHL season, the reduced season starts tomorrow. The 1 year special realignment. So, for all you puckheads, get ready for that. And last but not least, got to shout out the WNBA and specifically the Atlanta Dream. What they did in regards to the Georgia special election last week that happened Tuesday when we were getting off the air. Hats off to the WNBA as they continue to keep pushing for social justice and doing the right thing. And Atlanta Dream made a difference in that Senate race. So hats off to them. All right, it's time for us to get out of here. So it's time for our final post. Clutch, we're going to give you the honor of going first. What you got for me?
Excuse me. Well, I just want to say thanks, fellas, for embracing me. Let me be a guest on the show this week, talking about the sports topics and everything that's going on related to sports. I just want to say a couple of things. One, just everybody stay safe. We are still not out of this pandemic. I know it's tough to, wear masks and socially distance and, all those things, but just continue to stay safe. And the other thing that I want to mention is I had a chance to look at the first episode of Tiger yesterday, and I'm not a big golf fan, but I am a Tiger Woods fan, and I thought the first episode was pretty good. So if you like golf or you like Tiger Woods or both, then check it out. It came on HBO, and you can check it out and learn some things that you didn't know.
Cool. I appreciate that. I forgot that was starting. Thank you. Ed, what you got for us?
Well, like Clutch was saying, let's still be diligent as far as our safety, the way we go about our daily lives as far as the safety is concerned. Mask up, wash your hands, look out for one another. Also, I just want to say to the NCAA, it's time to pay these guys, these athletes, because we just completed a successful football season. Alabama once again champions, and these young men have literally put their lives on the line throughout this pandemic in order to profit none financially. Sure, they got to play football, and many of them will enhance their draft status, but it's time to end all these lawsuits and sit down at the table and figure out how these athletes can be properly compensated for the billions. Now they are getting billions of dollars that they actually bring into these universities. That's all. Everyone stay safe.
Professor?
Hey, thanks for tuning in. God bless you, and we'll see y'all next week.
J3.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Ohio State Buckeyes for at least getting to the championship round. Even though they didn't win the game, they still played their hearts out. So hats off to you.
And on that same tone, I want to give a shout out to Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. If y'all remember months ago, they put together a coalition of NCAA football players, cross conferences, and made it so that they were actually able to play football. The SEC was going to play, but there was a time when the SEC was going to be the only major conference to play. But because of Trevor Lawrence using his platform, Justin Fields using his platform, they were able to play the games and able to get us the national championship. So hats off to those guys. And lastly, for all y'all out there, if you're around any major city, especially a capital, please be safe. Just keep your head on the swivel. If you don't have to be downtown areas, try to stay away and just be safe, at least till after the 20th. Mm-hmm. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening. We appreciate your time and opportunity to share our positions in sports with you. We're here each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for our next live show. You can also download our shows and previous shows via our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and you can also listen to us on your favorite podcasting platform. Remember, it's Positions on Sports Talk Show. Hit us up on Facebook at Positions on Sports and Twitter. We greatly appreciate you. Have a great evening. Sorry for running a little late early and running a little long in the end, but we had some things we wanted to get off our chest and share with you. Have a wonderful week. Be safe. We'll see you next Tuesday. Peace.
See ya.